Welcome back to the CNN Tea Party presidential debate. We're here in Tampa. Let's go right to a question from the audience. Please give us your name.
Good evening. I'm Steve Broudsong with the Tea Party of Greater Gaston County from Gastonia, North Carolina. My question tonight is, what is your position on the Federal Reserve? Should it indeed be audited and be held accountable by the American people?
Senator Santorum.
I agree with an audit of the Federal Reserve. I believe that what we should do with the Fed is to make it a single charter instead of a dual charter. I think the second charter that was instituted that had it be responsible for increasing employment and dealing with that leads to a fundamental distrust among the American people that they are taking their eye off the ball, which is sound money. They should be a sound money Federal Reserve. That should be their single charter, and that is it. With respect to some of the questions that were asked in the last segment on the economy, I would just say this. Some people say that Barack Obama's economy is a disaster. My feeling is it would have to make a dramatic improvement just to be a disaster. What we need to do is have a pro-growth plan that can pass the Congress with Democratic support, and as Newt mentioned, be able to rally the American people. What the American people want is a policy that's going to get people the opportunity to rise in society, to fill that great middle of America. And that is manufacturing jobs. That's why my plan takes the corporate tax, which is 35%, cuts it to zero, and says if you manufacture in America, you aren't going to pay any taxes. We want you to come back here. We want you to have Made in America stamped on your plate.
Mr. Kane.
Yes.
You were once with the Kansas City Federal Reserve. Should it be audited?
Yes, it should be audited. And secondly, I believe that its focus needs to be narrowed. I don't believe in ending the Fed. I believe in fixing the Fed. For many, many decades, the Fed did its job when it was singularly focused on sound money. When we wake up in the morning, we expect 60 minutes to be in an hour. Now, when we wake up because of some of the actions of the current Fed, we don't know what the value of the dollar is going to be. In 1988, it took $1.2 in order to be able to convert from Canadian to U.S. It is now totally reversed because of the current policies of the Fed.
Thank you. Congresswoman Bachmann, you know that Governor Perry has suggested that Ben Bernanke, the head of the Federal Reserve, potentially should be tried for treason for what he's doing. Do you agree?
Well, as President of the United States, I would not be reappointing Ben Bernanke, but I want to say this. During the bailout, the $700 billion bailout, I worked behind the scenes against the bailout because one thing that I saw from the Federal Reserve, the Enabling Act legislation is written so broadly that quite literally, Congress has given the Federal Reserve almost unlimited power over the economy. That has to change. They can no longer have that power. Why? Because what we saw with all of the $700 billion bailout is that the Federal Reserve opened its discount window and was making loans to private American businesses. And not only that, they were making loans to foreign governments. This cannot be. The Federal Reserve has a lot to answer for, and that's why it's important that they're not only audited, but they have got to be shrunk back down to such a tight leash that they're going to squeak.
It's one thing to say you wouldn't reappoint him, Ben Bernanke, to be head of the Federal Reserve. It's another thing, do you agree or disagree with Governor Perry that potentially he's engaged in treason?
Well, that's for Governor Perry to make that decision. My opinion is I would not reappoint Ben Bernanke.
You stand by those remarks, Governor?
I said that if you are allowing the Federal Reserve to be used for political purposes, that it would be almost treasonous. I think that is a very clear statement of fact. I am not a fan of the current chairman allowing that Federal Reserve to be used to cover up bad fiscal policy by this administration, and that, I will suggest to you, is what we have seen. It is a travesty that young people in America are seeing their dollars devalued in what we don't know if it was political or not because of the transparency issue. But I stand by this, that we need to have a Fed that is working towards sound monetary policy that creates a strong dollar in America, and we do not have that today.
Governor Romney, is there anything you disagree with Governor Perry on that point?
Well, my own view is that, quite simply, that the Federal Reserve has a responsibility to preserve the value of our currency, to have a strong American currency such that investors and people who are thinking about bringing enterprises to this country have confidence in the future of America and in our currency. People will not invest in this country and create jobs in this country for the American people if they don't have belief in our currency. Of course, we should see what the Fed is doing. There should be some oversight to make sure that it's acting properly. But at the same time, we recognize that we need to have a Fed. Why do I say that? Because if we don't have a Fed, who's going to run the currency? Congress? I'm not in favor of that. I'd rather have an agency that is being overseen rather than have the United States Congress try and manage our currency.
All right, let's take another question from the hall. Go ahead, and please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Tyler Hensley. I'm from Napa, California. Well, first of all, thank you guys for coming out tonight. My question is, out of every dollar that I earn, how much do you think that I deserve to keep?
Governor Huntsman.